I'm Dr.Sylvestre Nzahabwanayo, lecturer at the University of Rwanda College of Education, and the principal investigator for this particular project, which is called the Mobile Arts for Peace, informing the national curriculum and youth policy for peace building in Kyrygstan, Indonesia, Nepal, and Rwanda.
What is the objective of MAP project?
Thank you very much. The project aims to fulfill a number of objectives. First, the project seeks to use arts-based approaches, mainly music, dance, and drama, for enhancing teaching and learning in the classroom. Secondly, the project also seeks to use music, dance, and drama for peace building in schools and out of schools. And third, the project also uses the same approach, arts-based approaches, music, dance, and drama, for promoting good mental health, for promoting psychosocial support. And here we are here for the first component of the project, which is to use music, dance, and drama for enhancing learning and teaching. We are here to develop a CPD, a continuous professional development certificate in teaching and learning using music, dance, and drama for high school teachers. Here we are bringing together artists and teachers. We are bringing together art cultural forms and the content knowledge with a view to use those art forms, local cultural art forms, to communicate and transfer knowledge.
What kind of issues you would like to be addressed by this CPD?
The CPD comes at the right time, I would argue, and it comes to be a response to a number of issues that are observed, that have been observed in the teaching and learning in high schools in Rwanda. One, there is a question of learner or teacher-centered pedagogies, where the teacher is at the center of the teaching process and the learner is considered as actually an empty vessels to be filled with content. Secondly, although the Rwanda Basic Education Board since 2013 has adopted a competence-based curriculum as a teaching pedagogy, as of now there is no tool, there is no approach to really implement a competence-based curriculum. So the CPD we are developing comes as a response. It comes as a methodology, as a tool which will help to implement competence-based curriculum. In the third place, the CPD also comes in to address the issue of learners in high schools disliking the school. This has been observed and highlighted by a recent study done by UNICEF. This study highlighted clearly that learners don't enjoy the school, don't enjoy learning. And so the CPD comes in to create innovative ways where learners would enjoy learning and teaching, where learners really will enjoy going to school, but also where teachers will enjoy their profession of teaching, facilitating teaching. Most importantly, what we want also to achieve in this CPD is to give value to our local cultural art forms, our local cultural practices. Most of the time, the content, the knowledge we give to learners in the classroom use foreign attitudes, foreign beliefs, foreign values, foreign categories. Our learners learn in English, and that English language comes with different categories that are quite unfamiliar with the context of our learners. What you are doing in this CPD, we want them to learn in categories that they understand, in categories that are drawn from their local cultural art forms, in such a way that they feel at ease when they're engaging with the content. In other words, the content will be transmitted, communicated using categories, examples, beliefs, images, representations, dances, music, art forms that they really understand and find themselves familiar with, but also they find conversant with.
I would like to know where this CPD will be used once completed.
The CPD we are developing for this particular workshop is principally meant for secondary school teachers, those who teach in lower secondary, but also upper secondary. We are saying here that a teacher teaching mathematics and sciences can do that using music, dance, and drama. A teacher teaching social sciences subject can do that using music, dance, and drama. Equally, and most importantly, a teacher also teaching language subjects in secondary school can teach those languages using music, dance, and drama. In a way that you have an art form which is combined with an art subject. This art form I'm referring here could be music, dance, and drama. And then an art subject can be mathematics and sciences, it can be social sciences, it can also be languages. We are here bridging the gap between the domain of art and the domain of education. We are bringing together art and education, and learning and teaching. We are committed here to what we actually call arts-based education, or arts teaching and learning informed by art-based approaches, in such a way that we have art merged with education, merged with teaching and learning.
Suppose I enter a classroom to observe a lesson. Give me some tips that will help me find out that the teacher is applying MAP methodology.
The approach we are using, as we are suggesting, is called Mobile Arts for Peace. That approach, Mobile Arts for Peace, means a lot. Mobile because the approach can be used to serve different purposes. Mobile arts, referring to the three art forms I have been highlighting, music, dance, and drama. For peace, because at the end, what you are doing is promoting peace. Peace understood in the broader sense, not as the absence of physical violence, but also as the absence of other forms of violence like symbolic violence, cultural violence, where beliefs, attitudes of one group of people prevail over the others. Now, this approach, Mobile Arts for Peace, is unique in its own way, because if a teacher is using it, you will notice that that classroom has specific features. One, you will see learners motivated. You will be learners really engaging actively with the content. You will see learners interacting actively among themselves, but also among the teachers, with the teacher. Secondly, in this approach, when you enter a classroom, you will hardly distinguish a teacher and the learner, because both of them, the teacher and the learner, are performing. In other words, the learning and teaching becomes a performance. A performance which is enjoyed by both. Third, in this approach, when you enter into a classroom, the content is not delivered in what we call didactic approaches. You have a teacher in front, sitting in an authority position, and the learners sitting there, passive, seated, quiet, only busy listening. In this approach, when you enter a classroom, you see the learner and the teacher creating, co-creating knowledge, co-producing knowledge, where each one is learning from each other. Again, and this is very important, when you enter a classroom where this approach is being used, where music, dance, and drama is being used, you will not realize when this classroom has ended. Because the beginning is enjoyable, the halfway is enjoyable, and even the end is enjoyable. It's a classroom that is active, engaging, interacting. And last but not least, when you enter into this classroom, most probably, and I would even say, you will hear music informing the teaching, dance informing the teaching, but also drama informing the teaching. It will be a classroom which is characterized by a performance through which knowledge is communicated, a performance through which knowledge is given from learners, from teachers to learners, also from learners to the teacher, and everyone learn from each other.
Don't you think that learners would be more attracted by the music, dance, or drama than the content of the lesson itself.
That's the caveat of this approach, and that's why we are designing a CPD which will help actually teachers to be able to overcome that caveat. Instead of learners focusing on the medium, the end, the means, they rather focus on the end, the content to be transferred. But again, we should not overlook or underplay the role played by the medium itself, music, dance, and drama, because they serve efficiently to communicate that content. So to answer to your question, the teacher has to be skillful. The teacher has to have the aptitudes, the skills, in such a way that learners don't really be driven so much by the art form, but rather the art form serves the purpose of mediating the non-art form subject, sciences and maths, social sciences, and the languages. So that requires really the aptitude of a teacher to be aware that learners might be tempted to focus on this, but now I have the skills to shift them from this to the other non-art subject.
So what is the scope of your project?
Thank you very much. As I said initially, the project is called Mobile Arts for Peace, informing the national curriculum and youth policy for peace building in Rwanda, Indonesia, and Nepal, Kyrygstan. The project really, as I said, is working in other countries than Rwanda. It's working in Indonesia, it's working in Kyrygstan, it's working in Nepal and Rwanda. And these countries have not been selected randomly. There is a common future across those countries. These are countries that have been characterized by conflicts of different types, and although those conflicts differ in their nature depending on the context, they have affected learning and teaching. So the common feature that these countries have is that learning and teaching, education, I would argue, has been affected by the conflict, and you are addressing those impacts of the conflict on learning and teaching using arts-based approaches.
Have you got any other relevant information you would like to add?
I want to highlight that this project comes at the right time. This project has been funded by Arts and Humanities Research Council, HRC, from the UK, and we have received this grant for this particular project in collaboration with the University of Lincoln, our lead partner in this project. I want to emphasize that this project can be located more broadly in what you are calling decolonizing education. Decolonizing education.
What does it mean?
Decolonizing education means using local indigenous practices to transmit knowledge. Usually we are used to rely on foreign languages, foreign categories, foreign concepts, but this time we want to use our local categories, our local languages as well, our local practices, our local concepts, representations, and paradigms for us to transfer knowledge. Decolonizing knowledge means breaking the barrier between the learner and the teacher, between the colony, because the colonial education has taught us that a teacher should be there like a master, and a learner should take a low profile. I don't want to say a slave, a low profile of someone who knows nothing, who has to receive always everything from the teacher. We are reversing the trend. We are decolonizing that. We are actually demystifying those practices. Decolonization of knowledge and education means bringing in the educational system our values, our practices, our local, our cultural art forms in a way that they serve to communicate knowledge in categories that learners associate themselves with, understand easily, and can remember, can recall at any time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.